We are just 24 hours from the launch of the Fuji XH2, the latest camera in Fuji's long line of X series cameras. It's going to be their flagship model, and we don't really know a huge amount about it, or at least we don't know anything really for certain. But there's been quite a few rumours running around. So I want to have a little chat today just about what's been rumoured, what we are expecting to see tomorrow at the Fuji Summit, and also a few bits at the end of the video, some of the things that I really want from the camera, the features that I want to see that are going to make me want to go out and spend my hard-earned money on the camera. So what do we know for definite? Well, Fuji announced, I think last year at their last summit, that they have been working on a new backside illuminated stacked X-trans sensor, which means we're going to get a super fast, very capable sort of next generation sensor. The kind of sensor, or at least from the stacked side of things, is the sort of thing you normally see in flagship cameras like the Sony A1 and the Canon R3s, Nikon Z9, etc. So it's going to be, a real step up in terms of performance, but we don't know exactly what kind of sort of performance gains we're going to see. We also know that we're going to be getting an 18 to 120mm f4 lens that's going to be designed for both video and stills. I don't know exactly what they mean by that, but hopefully that means we're going to get, say, parfocal performance, so that we get next to no focus breathing and some other sort of video centric features. Some nice manual focus features would be cool to see as well, but what we'll actually see, I don't know, but it'd be interesting to see what we're going to see on that side of things. We've also got the 150 to 600mm lens that's aimed at wildlife photographers. Again, another lens we know a bit about, but don't know for definite exactly what that's going to look like. Other than that, we know very little for certain. But there have been a lot of rumours that have been flying around the internet. So what are those rumours? The biggest rumour that's been flying around is that there's actually going to be two cameras, or two XH2s. We're going to get an XH2 and an XH2S. They say that the XH2S is going to be launched first, and that's the one that's going to come with a 26 megapixel stacked backside illuminated sensor. We're later going to get the XH2, which is going to be the 40 megapixel sensor, the high resolution sensor that's been talked about, but not going to be a stacked sensor. It's just going to be backside illuminated normal sensor. We don't know if it's going to be X-trans or Bayer. We just, they're saying that it's going to be a 40 megapixel sensor. The XH2S will prioritize speed over anything else, so that's why it's going to be lower megapixel, but with that stacked sensor we're going to get 40 frames per second on the still side of things. We're going to get 6K video, we get 4K 120 frames per second on the video side of things. And it's going to be it's all about speed, so hopefully less rolling shutter, etc, etc. On the XH2, it's going to be prioritizing resolution. So think, obviously 40 megapixel stills, so the best quality stills possible. And we're going to get 8K video rumoured as well. We've got both side of things from, you've got the video high resolution, you've got the stills high resolution, but if you're more of a sports photographer or you want speed on the video side of things, then the XH2S is probably going to be the one that you're going to be looking at. We're also going to get improved autofocus with animal tracking and improved object tracking. Again, we don't know exactly what form that'll be and how much of an improvement we're going to see, but I hope that it's going to be a big improvement. The Fuji autofocus system isn't bad, but compared to, say, the likes of Sony and Canon and now Nikon with their Z9, they are definitely lagging behind, and it's one of those areas where they can definitely improve. Reportedly, the camera will have both an SD card slot and a CF Express Type B card slot. That CF Express Type B is there for the really high performance at the high quality video, the high frame rates, and high data output from the the high speed photos and stuff. So the camera is really going to need a high-speed card in order to take advantage of all of those high-speed features. One of the more controversial aspects is that they're going to launch it with a fan accessory. So this is something that will attach to the back of the camera somehow, that will allow the camera to cool itself better when shooting in the high video frame rates over long periods of time. Rather than build it into the camera, they decided to add it on as an accessory. This hasn't really been very well received online. I'm waiting to reserve judgment and see actually how they implement it, because if it's something that I probably, living here in England, I don't need all that often because it doesn't get that hot, and I don't have to have the extra cost and weight and size that a fan would bring, and I can just add it on if I were to need it. As long as they implement it well, it doesn't sound like such a bad thing. Possibly the most controversial rumour amongst Fuji users is the fact that they're ditching the shutter speed and ISO dials. The X-T4 that I'm filming on right now, and the X-T3 and various other and X Pros and various other things, one of the things that people love about them is the fact that they've got this sort of traditional camera style, this traditional camera kind of look and feel on top, where you can individually select like shutter speed, ISO, aperture, etc. That is not going to be present on the XH2. I actually think that's a good thing, personally. They're going to be fitting a PASM dial, this sort of traditional sort of program, aperture priority, shutter priority, manual type rotary dial, with hopefully some custom options as well. This is going to be a proper hybrid camera, so this is not a stills first camera, not a video first camera, but a proper hybrid camera. For hybrid shooters, I think that will actually work a lot better, and they're going to continue to make the XT line of cameras. There's going to be an XT5 and there's going to be an X Pro 4, etc, etc. So the traditional style is not going anywhere. It's just this new flagship model is going to have much more a hybrid style body, probably closer to that of something like the GFX 100, something that's a bit more sort of like a traditional digital SLR, rather than the retro styling that Fuji have been known for. Like the X-T4, it will have a flippy screen. That will be good news for some people, bad news for others. Again, I think because this is a hybrid camera, it makes sense to keep the flippy screen. Something that's really handy for solo shooters, people who need to shoot themselves, not necessarily just vloggers, but people like myself, who I'm sat here with the camera now, instead of using an external monitor or something like that, I can just flip the screen out and see exactly what's going on. And last but not least, the price. We've heard lots of different things about the price, but reportedly the XH2S is going to be $2,499. What it will be in pounds, I'll have to just wait and see. And the XH2 that's going to come reportedly later with a 40 megapixel sensor, that will be less than that. So the XH2S is going to be the sort of the flagship, the sort of more expensive model. So the XH2 will be under that price. How much under that price? Again, we'll have to wait and see. But I would expect it to be sort of probably the $2,200, $2,300 mark maybe. But again, I'll have to wait and see. So what I really, really want from this camera, what are the features that will make me hand over my hard-earned cash? Well, the main things, I'm really, really happy with my X-T4 and my X-T3 for picture quality. For photography, they are absolutely superb, and I'm more than happy with the results that I get out of them. So most of my designs are on the video side of things. I've been doing a lot more video work than I have been doing photography lately. So I want the cameras to perform, or I want more out of the camera from a video side of things. And that includes 6K 60 frames per second. So not just for the camera to shoot 6K, it'll be useless to me if it doesn't do 6K 60. I also would like the 4K 120 that we've had rumoured. If that will be I don't shoot a lot of 120 frames per second, but it's mainly because if it doesn't, the resolution, the 1080p out of the X-T4 looks good, doesn't look great. I think I'll probably use it more if we had a 4K option. So yeah, so I definitely want to see those two frame rates on there. With, again, I say this, if the 6K 60 would be lovely. I expect to see, and I really want to see, 10-bit 422 colour. Built in, recorded straight to the memory card, rather than at the moment we have to use an external recorder to get full 422. I think that's pretty much a given. If we can get better than 10-bit, 12-bit would be amazing. But I have to wait and see. I think if it is a 12-bit colour, then that will absolutely blow people away. I'd like to see really good rolling shutter. I don't use the camera for that much high-speed work, but when I do, it's quite handy if I'm doing any sort of whip pans and stuff. It would be quite nice to have better rolling shutter performance. So yeah, if we can see some better rolling shutter performance, that would be really, really cool. Definitely want to see better AF performance. Again, like I said before, the AF performance on the X-T4 is pretty good, but when you see what people can do with Sony and Canon cameras, I'm always jealous of how much they can rely on the AF. Whereas when I'm shooting video, I shoot manual focus most of the time, except for when I'm sort of doing talking head stuff like this, and I can rely on the eye face tracking. But yeah, I would like a much more reliable autofocus performance with some better tracking and various other features. So yeah, if they could improve on that, that would be great. I'd like to see a better IBIS system. Fuji have already improved their IBIS system quite considerably from the first implementation in the XH1, but it's still, for me, it can be a little bit unpleasant in video side of things. It's great for photography, but you get some, especially with the wide angle lenses. I shoot with a lot of wide angle lenses. You can get that sort of jelly effect in the corners. So yeah, so an improvement on the IBIS side of things, something like the Panasonic style, would be a really nice thing to see. I'd love to have a full-size HDMI on the side of the camera. One of the photographs I did see, one of the leaked photographs I saw, it looked like it had HDMI written on the side of the camera on quite a big flap. So you never know, we might actually get a full-size HDMI, but that's something that we're seeing on things like the A7 IV from Sony, and that's quite a direct competitor in a way to this new camera. So yeah, so I'd definitely like to see a full-size HDMI. If we can get better dynamic range, that would be really good. The X-T4 again has got great dynamic range, but any improvement on that front would be even better. We've got this stacked BSI sensor, and I think there's no reason why we can't get much better dynamic range from the camera going forward. It would also be cool to see some anamorphic modes in the camera, and Panasonic have that in their camera, and a few other people have that in their cameras, so it'd be quite cool. It's anamorphic, something I'd quite like to play about with in the future, so definitely having some anamorphic modes would be cool, as well as some extra sort of video centric things on the screen. You know, Panasonic again have been one of those companies that have really catered for the hybrid shooter and added some more sort of professional overlays on their displays. So again, it's something that I'd like to see. It's not something I know a huge amount about using because I've only really shot with Fuji on the video side of things, but it's something I'd like to see added, something I can learn and hopefully improve my video making skills as a result. I'd also like to have a dedicated record button. It'd be really cool to have a proper record button somewhere on the camera. Again, it's another feature that a lot of other manufacturers implement, but not something that Fuji do, at least with the cameras that I've owned. So yeah, so it'd be quite cool to have a dedicated record button if this is going to be a proper sort of hybrid video camera. And last but not least, something I would like, but I very much doubt we'll ever see, or not ever see, but something I very much doubt we'll see from the XH2 is internal RAW recording. I mean, how cool would that be? Some kind of Fuji internal RAW, or even like using something like B-RAW or something like that would be amazing. It would make it a bit of a game changer. I don't think it's going to happen, but you know, we can hope and dream. So yeah, so I think I've covered everything that is rumoured for the XH2. We'll have to wait and see what tomorrow brings and see what the summit delivers for us. But overall, I think we are in for a treat tomorrow. I think it's going to piss off some people because it's not going to be a camera for them. But again, it will be one of those things where this camera is not aimed at that buyer. You know, if you're someone who is an X-Pro user or an X-T4 user who's photography first and loves all of the features, then it's probably not going to be the camera for you. It's not aimed at you. And there will be a camera coming down the road that will be aimed at you, no doubt. But for people like myself, you know, hybrid shooters, people who do a lot of video but also do a bit of photography as well, it's probably going to be, hopefully, it's going to be a really, really big step up from what Fuji are creating at the moment. So yeah, hopefully that's the case. But we'll have to wait and see. I'll probably be posting a reaction video at some point after the summit, just to sort of go over what we've seen and what Fuji have actually launched. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. This is the first one on the channel. I've been meaning to make this for a little while, but I'm just getting over COVID. So I've had to sort of keep postponing making this video. I'm going to be doing many more videos coming soon, mostly centered around Fujifilm stuff, but also around photography and video making as well. So yeah, so please, if you like this video, do subscribe, and I will see you next time.